Okay, so we already talked about the rule in the last video, and we know that you put it over 1 and you flip your reciprocal and it becomes positive. So that's what it looks like. So if you have this here and you have x to the negative 5th, I would put it over 1. I would flip my reciprocal and x to the 5th becomes positive. Now, your coefficient do not make up rules. Don't make them up. Your coefficient doesn't do anything unless he has an exponent attached to him. Well, in this case, he has no exponent attached to him. So I'm still going to put it over 1, but 3 stays up top. Your coefficient doesn't move. There's no exponent attached to him. So he stays there. M comes down to get positive. So 3 over m squared. Number 3, I put everything over 1. Negative 7 has no exponent attached to him. Stays where he is. So negative 7 stays there. A to the negative 4th. A is negative, so he goes downstairs to become positive. And b cubed is already positive, so he's going to stay there. So that's what it looks like, okay? So on these, here's what I'm going to suggest to you, like I do every time. I would suggest, I'm going to do the even ones on the left-hand side. Maybe you want to pause the video and then jump back in and see if we're getting the same answers, okay? Let me move my screen up and tell me if we get the same thing. So I'm going to do 4 through 10. Okay. So what is my rule? My rule doesn't change. If my base is the same, I'm going to add my exponents if I'm multiplying. So 7 and negative 9 is negative 2, but I can't have a negative exponent, so I put it over 1. I flip my reciprocal, and w comes downstairs to get positive. So I still simplify like I've been doing in the past quiz. That doesn't change. I'm just waiting into the very, very, very last moment and asking myself, okay, do I have a negative exponent? Now I need to change it. But everything stays the same. So number 6, my coefficients do what they're told. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. And of course I add my exponents, and I think that's a negative 8 and a negative 3, which is negative 11. So now I ask myself, okay, I have a negative exponent, so I got to get rid of him. Now, my coefficient has no negative exponent attached to him. Stays where he is. So negative 18 on top, x comes downstairs to get positive, so my answer is negative 18 over x to the 11th. Okay, now, watch what I'm doing here. 8 to the negative 2 power. 8 now has a negative 2 attached to him, right? But I'm not going to simplify it just yet because I still need to go, because my coefficient does what he's told, and 8 to the negative 2 power, he still has to do that. And then I get p, and then remember I multiply here. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10. Okay, so now I put it over 1. Now, negative 8 has a negative, or 8 has a negative attached, negative exponent attached, so he goes downstairs to get positive, p goes downstairs to get positive, and remember my 1. Now it just so happens that I can do 8 squared. So if you can do 8 squared, do it. 8 squared is 64. So my full answer is going to be 1 over 64 p to the 10th. Okay? So let's take a look at number 10. It's very similar. So my coefficient does what he's told. So it's 3 to the negative 4th power, and now my exponents here multiply. So I get r to the negative 4th, and s to the negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. So I draw my line. Okay? Now, my negative exponents goes downstairs. He has a negative exponent, go downstairs. So it becomes 3 to the 4th. R has a negative exponent, go downstairs, becomes positive. S to the 12th stays on top. Now, I can simplify this. So if it's a coefficient with an exponent, go ahead and simplify. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3 is 81. So s to the 12th over 81 r to the 4th. Okay? All right, let's do a couple more. Okay, let's do, 12. Okay, 12, 14, and 16. Okay, so my rule is still the same. I still subtract my exponents. So 2 minus 5 is negative 3, but I can't have a negative exponent. So I put it over 1, flip my reciprocal, and h becomes positive. So 1 over h to the third. Now on this one you can kind of see that, yeah, are you going to have more h's upstairs or downstairs? Downstairs, you're going to have 3 more. That's how we're getting it. But my rule is subtract. Okay, so over here, I can still simplify. 14 over 7 is 2, and then subtract my exponents. Now, be careful here, because it's 4 minus a negative 2. 4 minus a negative 2 is positive, so in this case, it would be 2w to the 6th power. Okay? So be careful, because your rule, follow your rules. And then ask yourself if it's negative. All right, let's look at number 16. So we're doing some more. Yeah, let's do 16 through 22. Those are good. Okay. So 16 here, I can reduce 36 over 12 is 3. Okay, so there's 3. I'm going to go ahead and make my line to go upstairs or downstairs. Now, negative 4 isn't, and obviously it's a negative exponent, so x is going to go downstairs and he becomes positive. My rule here is 8 minus 7, which is 1. So y stays on top. So if I really wanted to look at that and do it, I could say, okay, I could do my coefficient. 36 divided by 12 is 3. X to the negative 4th has nobody, so he's going to stay there. And then I get y, because I subtract 8 minus 7. Then I can draw my line. 3 stays where he is. X goes downstairs to get positive, and y stays where he is. So I should go ahead and do all of my rules that I've been doing all year, and then at the very end, change that negative exponent. So watch what I do here. Negative 4 over 8 reduces to negative 1/2. And then for my p, I have 1 minus 2 is a negative 1. On my q, I have 5 minus 2 is 3. And for my r's, I have 3 minus 10, which is a negative 7. Okay. Here's the deal. When you have a fraction, your fraction, you can only have one numerator top and one numerator bottom. So here's what my fraction looks like. We're going to keep negative 1 over 2. So here's my fraction. Because this guy is negative, he goes downstairs to join my 2. Q to the third is fine upstairs, and r to the he goes downstairs to get positive. So this fraction, your coefficient establishes upstairs, downstairs, okay? So your numerator's upstairs, denominator's downstairs, but you can't have a fraction on a fraction. So your coefficient is what makes the upstairs and downstairs. Okay, let's take a look at number 20. So my coefficient does what he's told, 4 to the negative 2. I multiply my exponents here, and I get x to the negative 6, and I get y to the negative 12. Okay? Now, I'm going to go over here, plus, because I'm not going to do anything until the very, very end. So 2 to the negative third stays where he is. Coefficient does what he's told, and I get x to the negative 6, y to the negative 12. All right. So let's look at what this means. My label is the same, okay? So my label is the same, so I know I'm going to combine them. So what does 4 to the negative 2 mean? Well, it means that 4 goes down and squared, and x to the 6th, y to the 12th all comes downstairs. And I can simplify 4 squared, and 4 squared is going to be 16, okay? So I get 16, x to the 6th, y to the 12th, plus 1 comes up here, 2 to the third goes downstairs, and 2 to the third is 8. And then x to the 6th, y to the 12th. So my labels are the same. So remember, when labels are the same, we add them up, 1/16 plus 1/8. So just because it's a fraction, don't let it scare you. Remember how you add fractions, 1/16 and 1/8. Common denominator, 16, 16, this becomes 2. This is still 1. So when I combine them, I have 3/16, and my label stays the same, x to the 6th, y to the 12th. So there is no difference before. The only thing is getting rid of those negative exponents, okay? All right, let's look at 22. 22 and 24. All right. So I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing. Multiply across. 6 times 5 is 30, and I get a to the 12th, all over negative 12, a to the 14th. So my fraction here, 30 over negative 12, it doesn't go in evenly, but it can reduce. So I'm going to reduce it. I know that 6 goes into both of those guys, so I'm going to keep a 5 up there. And this becomes 6 down here. And negative can, we've talked about this at the beginning. I usually keep it on top. Remember, your coefficient establishes the upstairs, downstairs. And then if you subtract 12 minus 14, that gives me a to the negative 2. But I can't have negatives upstairs, so I'm going to keep 5, 6, and a goes downstairs to get positive. So negative 5 over 6, a squared. And a squared has to be my denominator because he had to go downstairs. Okay, let's look at 24. 24. Ooh, that's much better. All right, 24. So negative 6 squared, he does what he's told. Negative 6 squared is 36. Multiply my exponents, x to the 8th, y to the 12th. All over. Negative 4 cubed is going to be negative. So negative 4 times negative 4 is 16. 16 times negative 4 is negative 64. And then I get x to the negative 9th, y to the 15th. So I can reduce my fraction. 36 over 64. 3 goes in there. 3 goes in there 12 times. And then 3 goes in there 20. Oh no, 3 doesn't go into 64. Hello. So when I do that, then I'm going to start to just go down by 2's. So I get 18 over negative 32. It can reduce again to 9 over negative 1. 2 goes in there. 16 times. And then 9 over negative 16 is what it reduces to. And now my exponents, 8 minus a negative 9. 8 minus a negative 9 is x to the 17th. And for my y, 12 minus 15 is a negative 3. Here's the deal. Your coefficients is what establishes the upstairs. So 9 is upstairs, 16 is downstairs, and this negative sign can go either up or down. It's just making this rational number a negative. So now I look, x to the 17th is positive, he stays upstairs. This negative 3, this exponent's negative, so he goes downstairs and gets positive. But notice it's the coefficient that establishes upstairs and downstairs. And so because he was positive, he stays. Because he's negative, he goes downstairs. So we're going to practice this in class, but if you're really worried, come see me during tutoring.